start with a really general question, and it's about your works. So your works range from really the Lux project until the emergency housing and situation in New Orleans. And I'm wondering, do you find a contradiction in it, and how do you handle so different kind of works and of budget, probably?
I don't see a contradiction in it. I see richdom in it. And that's basically what we do. We're curious. We never wanted to specialize. Not in program, not in style, not in the ways you can approach a project, because each project's different. It's very different to work in a context like New Orleans than to a high-end villa to a client that you know, and you can develop, program new inventions with them. So I don't see a contradiction. I just see richdom in thought. There are different budgets, but as an architect, you have to be able to deal with it. Otherwise, I think you're kind of missing the point. So on one side, yeah, we would get bored if we wouldn't like diversify and try to tackle very different things. On the other side, what you learn, you might learn something if you do low-income housing. You might learn something about the fundamental way people live and what architecture means in terms of creating dignity for people, that you might use for something that is much more luxurious, but it's true or more authentic, let's say. And
I mean, concerning these deluxe clients, I can avoid throwing you the question about Brad Pitt. I will quote from an interview I found online, which is, "Many magazines branded them, GRAFT, as the architects of Brad Pitt, which is true and highly effective weapon for promotion, but surely they don't have to stand for that, since it's just one client among many, many others." So how do you manage, I mean, the different clients? And I was maybe more curious to know how having such a client affects then your career, let's say, or other clients and jobs and so far.
I mean, first of all, it's been great. It was very early on that we met, and it has been a really interesting adventure ever since to work with him, because it's not working for him, it's working with him. He loves architecture. He's pretty good, so it's really working with him. You know, we call it jam session. We're jamming. You know, everybody plays the bass lines sometimes. Everybody has a solo, but you throw the balls, you throw the melodies. You know, everybody can give that continuous bass line, and everybody at one point will be able to do a solo. So that was always great inspiration. It has been good for promotion, of course. You know,
so it brings. Did it bring?
It brought a lot of attention, and that is a good thing. You have to be very grateful for that. It also brought the attempt from the media to put us in a certain box, and they always try to do it again. And that is, you know, we're much more than that. And we've been doing very, very different things in our lives that have nothing to do with him. So, you know, it's a little frustrating to be limited to that one name by some people. But not everybody does. In the end, your work has to speak for itself, and it does. And, you know, we understand that the media puts that name in because in times of communication, it's clicks, right? That name shows up. If it's internet, you know, you just create more, traffic on that thing. So it always shows up because it's a traffic magnet. You got to live with it. I mean, we're grateful, you know.
And I think you started with him also let's say the New Orleans project, which is, I mean, the New Orleans project is what you're going to present here at Beyond the Media. So I was thinking if the work done in New Orleans is more at architectural scale, so the building, so housing, or it's more connecting and focused on the cities, on the urban situation. Could you maybe explain me, more what you've done in New Orleans concerning, the city or housing, and what you are presenting here as well. So,
I mean, first of all, it's the right question after the one before. It was Brad's idea. It was Brad's unrest with the situation there, saying like it can't be that our governments fail on that level and nobody's doing anything about it. I'm going to do something. And he asked us if we can help him and participate in that. And of course we said yes. It's super interesting. Righting the wrong, as he did put it, and that's how he invented the name, Make It Right. Let's start to make things right there. And we do it in the lower 9th ward almost as a symbolic act, because the lower 9th was an incredibly rich culture of people that owned homes, families that had their homes for generations. But they were poor too. And after the levee broke, a lot of people died. The rest of the people that survived got into the next catastrophe, which is, you know, the aftermath, the days after and weeks after Katrina, where nobody helped and nobody came. And then the year after, where still nobody did anything or helped. And they're still not there. The lower 9th ward is still desert land. And so when he says, like, will you help me? He's like, of course. You know, it's definitely something where you can make a difference. I mean, in the end, basically what we did is creating with them a core team of people, and we are standing for the architectural side. First thing we did, we knew if we're making it right, we should really make it right. So the ambition was very high. The goal was to bring the people back and to recreate the community. But we wanted to do that with the goals of creating the community in a really better way. Meaning the community should be safe, it should be healthy, meaning, you know, we call Bill McDonough, which is the Pope of sustainability in America, and his principles of cradle to cradle we wanted to apply. So he came on board. He called Cherokee, which is Cherokee Gives Back Foundation. Cherokee is a contractor that is working globally on contaminated sites, cleaning the sites up. And that's exactly what we needed in the lower 9th ward. And they brought a lot of expertise and structure to the game. So these are the 4 people, the core entities in Make It Right. And again, the principles for creating community was safety, healthy cradle-to-cradle buildings, sustainable buildings, meaning they're not only healthy, but they're smart. You know, they reduce energy consumption and they actually gain energy as well. We have the technology, why not use it there? You know, make it visible that's possible. Huge item, it had to be low income. The people have to own the buildings, they have to be able to pay for it. And whatever the funding gap is, what they don't have, Make It Right would help. And in the end, and this was a little bit our expertise and territory, was design. Design is always underestimated and always forgotten. I mean, I think we're trying to do something there really critical, which is it's cheap, but it's still healthy and sustainable, and it is still good design, because dignity is not only the first 2, it's also the third. If you do something that it might be healthy and it might be cheap, but if there's no design, if there's no dignity to the work, so people can identify with where they're living, it will fail. So that's why
it's mainly a political agenda, political, social, and maybe urban agenda. I mean, in a sense, you did arrive until the design of a single unit housing, or is they like a conceptual aiming? I mean, you did design the single housing as well, or it's just a programmatic?
No, these were the goals that we you know, set and ventured out to reach them, which was nobody, to my knowledge, nobody's done that. You know, cheap, sustainable, yet good design. I don't know of any community that, you know, tackled that issue. From the architecture side, it meant we want a community, we need diversity too. And it's not that, you know, Brad and GRAFT designing all the homes, you know. Of course, we wanted to design a home, we did, but we want to open this up. Community needs diversity. So that's why we proposed to make it right. Let's do kind of competition. Let's ask people, because it's all pro bono, of course. It's all private. Private money, private investment, private time, private brains. Inviting people, architects, to help out. Locals, nationals, internationals. As it is a local problem, it was a national chain, basically. It's an international issue. Katrina is an international issue. So we asked 13 architects, they came in, they provided their designs, and these designs are now taken into design development by Make It Right on the ground. And then the people, and that's the beauty of it, the competition has no high-end jury. The jury are the people. It's a popular vote. They get to decide what kind of design they want. And that's also why you had to be careful who you're designing for, right? Taste culture is a thing. It's low ninth ward, it's people. A lot of people told us, you're crazy, it's all too modern, it's all too sleek, you know, these fancy designs from these architects. And it's so surprising. Every design, every single design of the first round has been picked. Meaning, the people are always underestimated. You know, they're proud of their designs. They picked it. They were, if you ask anybody there, living in these houses, they probably would tell you, my house is the best. And this is exactly what I mean. This is where design counts. That is sustainable if somebody cares, because he identifies. There's a dignity to architecture. It will not fail.
You don't want to protect, let's say, the architectural categories. I mean, do you believe in interdisciplinary work?
Absolutely.
I mean, there's not a risk to delegitimize the profession? I mean, I'm just throwing you.
Hey, come on, what is an architect these days anyway? I mean, where are we? I'm not talking about what we want to be, what we had been, or we can go. I'm talking about what the construction industry lets the architect be in these days. Our role changed dramatically already. It's very limited, basically. You know, it's like architectonic, the first of you know, the techniques, the technicians. We don't hold that baton anymore. You know, they're basically pencil pushers that tell us what you can do and what you can't, which is tricky, very tricky. No, I think you should not be scared to not think about categories and borders. I think it's absolutely interesting where you cross the border, but you don't realize it. And I mean, we call GRAFT because that's the methodology of thinking, to combine things, assumed opposites. So we love to work interdisciplinary. We're not named after our names because it's not that I'm sitting here, as it could be Thomas, Wolfram, or Ali, or Gregor, my partners. You know, that's not important that I'm sitting here. It's not important that there's a signature. That's all limiting factors. And that doesn't resolve what you're supposed to do. Resolve a problem for a client that is architectural. And if you can get help from other people and learn from them, great. I mean, we're always working teams. We like it. You know, I like to be inspired by my partners and partners in crime from other disciplines. I think it's the only way to really evolve and find that little thing that you can't do yourself unless you're super genius. I don't think I'm super genius.
That's a particular kind of material you're using. So, for instance, I'm thinking to New Orleans surrounding. So, if there's a particular also questioning about material use.
Well, there are many ways to answer that question. First principle, you know, answering with what Bill Wood said and his partner Michael Braungart from Germany, cradle to cradle. There are materials that are completely no-nos. We should not touch anymore, that are toxic and that cannot be recycled, not even downcycled. Any architect, any designer, anybody that creates products should stay away from these. So we got to learn how things are made and how they can be remade, you know, how they can go into the cycle again. Basically, cradle to cradle saying, you know, materials or products equal food. You know, we have to see materiality and materials as being able to go right into the cradle again, the beginning of something new. You know, we're wasting material like crazy. You know, any product that we have, only 5% of the material that is used is ending up in that product. 95% is waste that got lost on the way. So we've really got to rethink that. And we as architects have, I mean, that is the biggest part of all of it. We have a huge responsibility. So that dragon behind me, I see that as this responsibility is like shushing in my ear here. That's what you have to do. And I mean, we realized that a couple of years ago. So that's the simple answer. The other answer is, of course, should always be curious about how you can combine materials, how they can perform in a better way. In New Orleans, we're using technologies that are there, framing, for example, but we're trying to reinvent them. Meaning we're spacing the framing from the 16 inches to 24 inches. It's, you know, it's performative framing. We are reducing materials. So pick the right materials, reduce the materials, you know, and try to find a way that they can perform smarter. So you reduce the materials in itself and the labor that is attached. All of a sudden, you have a product that is perhaps even performing better, and you spend like half the money on it. Plus the insurance loves you, and in the end you have a house that everybody can afford. So I can't answer it's like you have to use this materials. There's only no-nos that you got to think about, and then there's materials where we can be smarter in the way we deal with them.
Okay, I think that's it. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.